You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Another amazing day. Good morning. It's Thursday, September 15th. And thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on it's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like and share and subscribe to us on all of your social media platforms. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're joining us on Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented by raising your hand. But with no further ado, let's pay a bill and get right back to the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Starting off today, we have the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte, when he's not changing diapers and chasing kids around floors, throwing spoons of pudding against the wall. You can catch him other babysitting adult daycare events such as TEDx and other speaking events along those lines. And when he's not doing anything else like that, you can find him practicing his football skills while he's constantly backpedaling on safe banking. That's right. It is the none other dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
All lies, all lies. But it was an amazing intro, Jason. Thank you for that. And thank you all in the audience for getting high with us at 9 once again. My headline today is from Benzinga by AJ Fabino. Curaleaf founder Boris Jordan says that ooh, sorry about that. Just lost my space. All right. From AJ Fabino, Curaleaf founder Boris Jordan says cannabis drinks will be 50% of the industry. Among the topics discussed in Chicago this week at the 2022 Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference, there was a general focus on the industry's future success relying on federal decriminalization and legal and regulation efforts. Of course, with a $4.3 billion market cap making it the biggest kid in the game right now, Curaleaf founder Boris Johnson's comments at the conference were sure to raise a few more eyebrows than others. While saying he's hopeful by the end of 2022, cannabis will be officially recognized as a legitimate industry in the U.S. and favorable legislation is something he's very bullish on. A couple of comments he made stemming from the controversial track stood out above others. The first was on cannabis beverages. Beverages are the big prize, the founder said. The problem with beverages is you have to build a lot of infrastructure. So you can only build out in states that have high density population to justify the investment. This would, of course, explain Curaleaf's major announcements recently that we've covered about going heavy into the infused drink lane. Per the article, according to U.S. data from Headset, the cannabis beverage market share has increased by more than 20% in the last 2 years, and Curaleaf's uniquely positioned with their new Endless Coast beverage line within the high-growth product category in one of the most mature adult-use markets in the East Coast. Jordan went on to say, personally, I would say 5 to 10 years out, I think cannabis beverages will represent 50% of the industry. Interesting. The second comment was more of a doozy to me than the first, even though it didn't win the headline treatment. When cannabis gets rescheduled, he said, big tobacco companies like Philip Morris will be known as cannabis companies. We've heard Senator Chuck Schumer say that he will do anything to keep tobacco companies out of cannabis, but I'll make a prediction. The minute it's rescheduled, tobacco companies will be known there on out as cannabis companies. While it may be easy to pass his comments off as big bank posturing, but curiously fit a different conversational lane than the negative headlines they've been dominating lately, the numbers don't lie. As pointed out by Benzinga, Philip Morris made a $20 million investment in Israel-based Saigi Medical, which created a cannabis inhaler for medical use back in January 2016. Excuse me. They didn't mention what the value of the investment is at present time, however. The tobacco giant also, through its venture arm, Imperial Brands PLC, made a 2018 investment in Oxford Cannabinoid Technologies, a London-based biotech company focusing on cannabinoid medicine and scientific research. And in 2019, they went on to drop $123 million for a 20% stake in Canadian Oxley Cannabis. Altria, on the other hand, in 2019 invested $1.8 billion in Kronos Group, becoming the largest shareholder of the Canada-based industry behemoth, nabbing 45% ownership stake with warrant to increase their stake over the following 4 years. We're currently in the third year of that deal for all you math whizzes out there. So while it's easy to forget the major pre-pandemic headlines that announced the public arrival of big tobacco, big alcohol, big pharma, and big tech into the cannabis lane, because, well, we've had a few distractions over the past couple of years, it's always important to listen to the words of the leaders of the biggest companies in the game. Like them or not, they're market movers. And the easiest way to predict in a broad scale macro level where things are going for the rest of us, follow the money. This is Rico Lamitte Nichole West, dad on the street for High at 9 News. I'm interested in hearing the rest of y'all's thoughts on Boris Jordan's comments here.
I mean,
I'm super interested to watch the tobacco industry personally. My first big job out of college, I worked for RJ Reynolds. I was a trade marketing representative for Southern California Coastal for RJ, Camel, Cool, Winston, Pall Mall, Doral. And I will say, and so this was in 2007. They were already ready to be actively pursuing the cannabis industry if and when it happened in 2007 as a thought. So, fast forward 15 years, I'm certain they're ready now.
I mean, I wish these companies would stop hyping up bottled beverages like they're the brand new eighths. I mean, they're the smallest segment of the edible market space, but has the highest promotion of any type of delivery method.
But it's growing.
It's growing, fast. And yeah, and like there was an article that I was reading yesterday about the accidental legalization of THC Delta 9 drinks. I want to say it was
in Minnesota.
In Minnesota, yeah. And the beer or the breweries, every brewery in Minnesota right now has some THC seltzer. And like, it's, I don't disagree that once it does go federal, once we do deschedule, we have that conversation. I would love to be able to go back to a bar and hang out with my friends again. I don't go to bars and hang out with my friends when they're going to go watch a football game because I'm like, I'm going to sit there and drink fucking water and be annoyed. Right. But if I could drink weed bevies and order a bunch of PBR weed bevies, I would come join. I'd probably leave before everyone else does. And I probably wouldn't scream as loud as everyone else does, but like I would still go.
Is that what they call them now? Weed bevies?
Jason, when we see full legalization, I mean, I know you want to believe that it's not going to matter, but beverages are going to be the way that new entrants are going to get into this market. This is what we are accustomed to. This is once there are social consumption lounges and things are much, trust me, my friends, if they want to try weed, they don't know how to roll a joint. They don't know how to pack a bowl. They're going to eat an edible or they're going to drink a beverage. And when you're in a social setting and we are so accustomed to drinking alcohol, that is the route that people are going to go. That is something they can wrap their head around of drinking a beverage and hoping to know kind of what the dosage is. Like, all right, I know what I am with one drink. We all know that that's not truly the case when it comes to cannabis, how it's going to work. But that's what people are going to be comfortable with who are not regular consumers.
And I will want the really low dose bevies too. I smoke a gang of weed, guys. Like I can smoke an eighth in a day on like an average day if I'm working from my desk. Okay. I am a regular consumer. Edibles are different for me, but I would love to be able to have 4 drinks at a bar with my friends watching a football game and have 4 and not be sleeping. So I would want a very low dose on an edible. I would want those 2.5 milligrams. And me being a heavy consumer saying that, I think Gretchen's right. Like people will, that is a normal concept. Like for how many hundreds of years has that been how human beings like gather, right? It's over food and drink.
I think I saw a supercut of all the people puking at weekend this past opening weekend for the NFL, like being overserved in all the stadiums and everything. Like, are you seeing into your future's eye, your vision there, Nichole? Are you seeing a bunch of people no longer puking at large sporting events and just people just passing out?
That would be
and not making it.
Oh man, there's going to be a big investment in stretchers.
I have to read El Guapo's quote. An FYI, this tweet was inspired by the Boris comment. Views go parabolic if you're hyperbolic about the bubonic chronic. Call me sardonic, but to me, it often sounds like an atomic colonic.
Bars.
An atomic colonic, huh? A colonic. That's a butthole cleanse.
I know.
You see kids butt chugging cannabis beverages.
No.
Here
just
we
buy a
go.
suppository.
Don't give them any ideas.
Bro, just buy a suppository.
Bro, they already dabbed Tide Pods. I mean, come on.
Dabbing Tide, what?
Yeah, bro. Have you never seen the kids? They dab Tide Pods, bro. I shit you not. It's a big fucking phenomenon on TikTok and YouTube and all this other crazy shit.
This is why I'm taking my daughter, getting the fuck about this country.
All right. Well, that's a great segue. The Tide Pod dabber himself, Jason Beck, is up next. Thank you for that headline, Rico. That was definitely an insightful conversation, and curious to see what next kind of fun comments come out of Boris's mouth. So up next, Mr. Jason Beck. Jason's the longest running retailer in the history of regulated cannabis globally. He is also the member of the Republican Party that gets higher than literally any of them, and probably the person who will be most likely to offend you in the next 5 minutes. So, Jason Beck.
Oh yeah, that's right. Get ready to be offended. That's right. That's the sound of the alarm of people being offended. But nonetheless, today there's a little bit of inclusion in my story, and there's a little bit of well, you guys will see. Because there's a federal bill would let small cannabis growers sell directly to consumers across state lines. U.S. Representatives Jared Hoffman, Democrat from California, and my buddy, good old Earl Blumenauer, Democrat out of Oregon, filed a bill on Wednesday to help small-scale cannabis cultivators compete with larger industry players by shipping and selling products directly to consumers across state lines. The small and homestead independent producers, basically the SHIP Act. That's right, SHIP for all of my trapper friends out there. This is called the SHIP Act. Seeks to address concerns that when the federal prohibition of cannabis finally comes to an end, the industry can easily and to the detriment of small business owners be consolidated under multi-state operators, which already dominate many of the state markets. But giving small-scale operators the ability to operate on a direct-to-consumer model could help small growers save money on distribution costs or working directly with retailers. The bill would take effect following the plant's eventual federal legalization. The bill states that a small cultivator of marijuana and a small manufacturer of a marijuana product may ship and sell marijuana or a marijuana product to an individual located in that state or another state in which possession of marijuana or the marijuana product is lawful by that individual using the Postal Service or any private or commercial interstate carrier. According to the report, small cultivators are considered in the bill to be operators with up to 1 acre of outdoor cannabis canopy, up to 22,000 square feet of greenhouse cannabis canopy, or up to 5,000 square feet of indoor cannabis canopy. Small-scale manufacturers, meanwhile, are defined as those producing manufactured cannabis products such as salves, tinctures, edibles, or concentrates, but which have a gross annual revenue of less than $5 million. In a quote, "It is a daunting business environment that they're facing. Markets are consolidating. The huge multinational corporations are certainly going to do very well, but we want to make sure that the smaller operations have a chance to compete and succeed." That is from Democrat Jared Huffman of California. Well, I'll tell you what, I think this is a great bill to be introduced. I'm not sure how it would be included in a federal legalization bill, but I guess it is a good hedge against the MSOs wanting to hamper state commerce or hamper commerce at state lines with a bill such as the States Act. But nonetheless, this will help ensure interstate trade, and bravo to these guys for introducing it. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
I'm not exactly sure why this bill is actually necessary. I mean, if this is going to happen when legalization happens, people should be able to ship their product.
See, Gretchen, I think it's a hedge. I think it's a hedge against another bill coming out that's similar to the States Act that would hamper commerce at state lines. And then therefore, it's a hedge to ensure that we have interstate trade once we have federal legalization.
I think it's trying to get around the distributor end of things.
I think the way they're framing it is they're trying to, at least the rhetoric framing it, Gretchen, is that they're trying to give the small businesses a chance to have, because the MSOs are inevitably going to take over.
Yeah, but
I think it's a sign that we will deschedule sooner
than later.
Deschedule the bust.
That's right. Interstate trade, direct to consumer. I'm all about that direct to consumer model.
Well, we're going a million miles a minute, million miles an hour, like towards fucking either legalization or descheduling or bust. Do you think we're gonna bust first, or is it gonna hit that descheduling button? What do you think, Nicole? I don't know. I think the country's gonna fucking go down in flames.
I think this is honestly a PR stunt by Jared Huffman, who's done nothing for his district, even though his district is the Emerald Triangle. I mean, and it's an election year. I think that's what this is fucking about.
Good point.
This is not about commerce.
So this is a puff piece.
And because it's not going anywhere.
I really like the fact that they called it the SHIP Act, since you can ship direct to consumer.
Well, I love a good acronym, but see,
the
it's not
SHIP
doing
Act.
No, Rico. The SHIP Act, as in shipping.
Well, I'm just saying, Gretchen thinks it should be called the Shit Act.
I do.
That's just so.
I think you're a little too happy here, Jason Beck. I think you're supporting a bill that's gonna do nothing.
I agree. I totally agree. I totally agree that the bill is gonna do nothing. I just like the fact that it's beating a drum that I like to beat.
Don't even get me started on what you like to beat.
Oh, yeah. Getting it.
Bazinga.
So somebody else want to comment on that one? We got anybody from Clubhouse want to jump in on the conversation on that?
Jason has his hand raised, and I have invited him up to speak, but he has not came up to speak. So I am not seeing him come up. I'm sorry about that, Rico.
All right,
Speaking of which, Nicholas Wildstar, you need to accept your invitation to speak as well.
Let's keep it rocking. She's a cannabis business consultant specializing in efficiency, agriculture, and compliance, and draws upon wisdom gained from a Colorado jail cell once upon a time. to bring you to a place where you'll never have to deal with the things that she had to. And now she just shows up every single day getting hyphy for spreadsheets. And in her spare time, she enjoys busting all kinds of bullshit from state to state. Is currently working on that doctorate. I have no idea how it's going, but hopefully, it's more than a pass or fail class over at Long Beach Community College. Coming to the stage next, the self-described general data bitch herself, Nichole West. What you got for us this beautiful Thursday morning?
Well, practicing my PhD in dirtbag psychology, definitely on the daily. So thank you for that, Rico. My headline today is actually a pretty small location, but this is a very interesting bit of laws that are being passed. Currently, Wood County passes age restrictions on Delta 8 THC. This headline comes out of the WSAW TV Delta 8 KCTV 5 article. Wood County in Wisconsin. Wood County Board of Supervisors has passed an ordinance that requires people to show proof of age 21 or over to purchase the intoxicating hemp products such as Delta 8, tetrahydrocannabinol, THC in Wood County. The ordinance went into effect August 23rd, but it also limits the proximity in which products can be sold near youth settings and organizations of other youth-friendly locations. We wanted to focus on the ordinance to be youth substance use prevention, stated Jacob Wagner, the Wood County Health Department. So marijuana, hemp, and both cannabis plants are both cannabis plants, but industrial hemp contains 0.3% or less of the psychoactive compound. We all know it is the exact same plant. The differentiator is some arbitrary number that the government has put on it. So following the passage in 2018, the Farm Bill legalized the industrial hemp nationwide. And so there's been, obviously a huge uptick of Delta 8 products across the country. So in spring of 2022, Healthy People Wood County Substance Use Prevention Team Impact conducted a community scan of Delta 8 THC around the area. Our volunteers found Nerds Ropes, Gummy Lifesavers, Pop Rocks, and a variety of other sweet snacks that appeal to children, all containing alarming levels of Delta 8 THC, shared Wagner. Not only were the types of products alarming, but now they were being sold. The way they were being sold was also a concern. So in the efforts to curb this from happening, they went ahead and passed a law that now requires anybody who sells any of these products to have to be 21. And again, we were talking earlier about different things that I think are signs of future, descheduling. And I think the more places that start to do this and put a age restriction, because the idea that we're allowing people to purchase a substance and putting an age restriction on it that's coming through industrial grade hemp, I think is something that we really need to look into. Like this is something that needs to happen. I 100% agree that we shouldn't just be letting children buy Delta 8. So, people follow Wood County on this, but they said that their hope is not that they will not only restrict the youth from purchasing the products from the area of the retailers, but that it sparks the conversation and spreads awareness about the risks that these products pose to public health. Wagner added. We've been hearing it from several community partners that something needs to happen because kids won't ask what they're consuming and adults don't always know how to talk to youth about substance use. Hopefully retailers will feel more confident to refuse the sale to somebody under 21. And so, I think that this is going to give an opportunity for a lot of people also to feel a little bit more comfortable selling those kinds of products, which I think will open up the market for more people to be, willing to consume those products as well. But with that said, I think the need for descheduling is so important because so much of this product is, unregulated and a lot of it's snake oil. And we've read article after article about the CBD and the Delta 8 products that are being produced around the country not being to the potency or having heavy metals in them. So this is just one move forward for the cannabis plant, but I think one step back right now for the regulated industry. And I'm Nichole West, getting high at 9 with y'all.
Liz growing here.
Where is Wood County at?
It's in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, the cheese capital of the world.
Yeah.
Is Liz Grow in the room? Because I know there's
no, she's out of service today.
Got it. Yeah, there's no limit on. There's no age limit in Texas for
there's no age limit.
Of those
there's
products.
no age limit in most states for Delta 8. You know what I mean? Like there's
no age limit in California for Delta 8, Rico.
No.
Like it's totally ridiculous, totally out of hand. Shout out to Woods County. for stepping up and caring about what about the children.
I mean, realistically, it's an intoxicant, and if you're going to allow it to happen, it should be regulated. And I think that if they're being so open to the idea of it, that would potentially open more doors for cannabis, because it's just a step in that direction. But at the same time, it's such a fucked up like double standard when they are allowing like 16-year-olds to buy it, and like we can't even have an advertisement that has like something that looks like a cartoon.
Right.
What do we know what the demographics are of Wood County? I'm really curious to know.
If it's in Wisconsin, Nicholas Wildstar, he should know.
Let's see.
Nicholas Wildstar, are you familiar with Woods County?
Where's Woods County?
The five largest ethnic groups in Wood County, Wisconsin are white, 91%, Asian, Hispanic, 2%. It's a lower middle class community.
Yeah, pretty much all the black people in the state are in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's
in the football team in Madison.
Less than 1%.
That is insane. Very, very diverse Woods County out there.
Yeah, not very diverse Woods County. Yeah.
It's Wisconsin. I mean, how diverse is all of Wisconsin? I don't know why we're
the mean travel time to work is Mean travel time to work is 20 minutes. Median income is $60,000. Per capita income is.
But how much is the price of gas in Woods County?
Yeah, wood. No S. Wood.
He adds S's to things.
S's shall not be silenced.
The S is silent. A fun fact about Wisconsin: you can bring your kids to the bar in Wisconsin and get drunk.
Gas is $3.47 in Wisconsin.
Yeah, $3.47 to $3.71.
You can bring your kids to a bar in Wisconsin and get drunk with your fucking kids.
Shout out to the environmental regulations on gas in Wisconsin to be able to offer gas that cheap.
Yeah, shout out to the Mars Cheese Castle. Shout out to Kenosha, Wisconsin, where we used to do our preseason training out there, and Baby Dolls, one of the rattiest strip clubs on earth. We used to sneak out of training camp preseason and go to a fucking strip club down the street by Carthage College. Good old Kenosha.
But do you guys think that more places should do this? Because I personally do.
I totally
think
do.
There should be an age limit on it.
100%.
Dr. Mary, what do you think? I know you encourage people with Delta 8, and you and I've gone back and forth about it a few times. Do you think that there should be an age limit for people to just walk into the conveni and buy some?
Well, I mean, I think the age limit doesn't exist because it's hemp derived. And so they don't have an age limit on hemp derived products. I think that's the issue. But I mean, the Florida Agricultural Board has talked about this and actually put secret shoppers in shops trying to buy Delta 8. And they're very careful about checking IDs. I do think that most people are afraid to sell to minors. I'm not going to say that there isn't any diversion going to minors with Delta 8, but I don't think that smoke shops are just selling to anybody in most cases. They're not going to sell to minors intentionally.
But the amount of places that are selling it at a liquor store and that'll sell it at a gas station.
Yeah, gas stations, Dr. Mary.
Those people don't care. And so I'm not talking about.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of gas stations and convenience stores get a really bad rap, but they do a lot of sort of bodega style gas stations nowadays where there's really high quality foods and high quality medicinals in those places.
Hold on. Dr. Mary, did you say there's high quality? Hold on. Did you say there's high quality foods in gas stations?
I mean, there's plenty of gas stations that have fresh fruit and really good healthy sandwiches and things.
What gas station is this at, Dr. Mary?
We live in LA. People are selling cookies bags in the gas station.
What are you, out in the Hamptons?
Stuffed with potato chips anymore. You get great shakes and good juices.
I think you got gas station mixed up with a Tesla supercharger station.
Okay.
And it's definitely no fine foods at a gas station that's charging $3.19 a gallon for gas.
Scratch that. In Texas, there is. In Texas, you can get some of the best barbecue.
Well, those are all truck stops, Rico.
Stop. Back to my headline. I don't think that the point is what it comes from. right? It doesn't matter what your alcohol comes from. Is it from grain? Is it from potato? Is it from rye? It doesn't matter. It's liquor. It ends up being alcohol at the end of the day. No one cares what the fuck it came from. It's alcohol. And so there's a regulation, malt, doesn't matter what it was, as to how old I have to be to buy it. So when this chemical comes out, do you think there should be an age limit? That's all I'm asking. Like, do you think there should be an age limit across the board for this chemical to be purchased, this base chemical of THC to be purchased?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm about less regulation. I don't think there should be age limits on anything. I think
Darwinism fucking work it out.
No, there should definitely.
Parents should control like how old your kids are when they're able.
But
to
most
shoot a
parents
gun,
can't even control their kids.
To...
So that's an antiquated argument. But we do have Stone Slade. We do have Stone Slade from the audience to comment on this.
Good morning, everybody. We definitely do have some bougie gas stations down here that sell lots of good stuff, but those bougie gas stations are still going to sell to minors as far as Delta 8 goes because it's not alcohol. And Delta 8 is just a big black eye waiting to happen for the cannabis industry until it becomes regulated because it's not natural.
Big black guy?
What'd you say?
A big black guy waiting to happen?
I did not say that.
Damn.
All right, that's a perfect time for our disclaimer. Thank you all for engaging and indulging me in that headline. So, the thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown at the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance, area, country, territory, or authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not apply, constitute any endorsement by us, the expression of any opinion whatsoever by the part of any of the speakers or anyone on stage. If you're an easily offended person, the show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention that you'd like to get High at 9 for 10% off your full order.
When she's not allegedly cooking delicious treats in her kitchen, she's out on K Street battling out with pot-loving libs across the aisle. And she's also a full-time feisty redheaded conservative with Mayflower roots and an unhealthy love for safe banking, along with her cohort Jason Beck in the red aisle. So I sit for my liberty. Coming up next is the founder of Panoptic Strategies in Washington, and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us today, representing the basement out there in Washington, D.C.?
Basement? Because we have basements? Is that the reference?
You look like you're coming out of the basement right over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, a little wooded area and exposed brick. It's looking very homely.
He's trying to say you're like the people under the stairs or something. I don't know, Gretchen.
I didn't say that. I'm saying it's looking cozy, man.
I definitely took that as an insult. All right. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. Marijuana banking sponsors step up reform push as industry holds over 100 lobbying meetings in Congress this week. Bipartisan congressional lawmakers are stepping up the push to pass a marijuana banking bill this year. At the same time, cannabis business leaders are descending upon Washington, D.C. for lobby days organized by a leading cannabis industry association. And at a press briefing yesterday, a senator gave updated details about possible additions to the legislation. As Senate leadership works to finalize a package of marijuana reforms that's expected to include banking provisions, the bipartisan and bicameral sponsors of the Safe Banking Act say it's time to take action on the House-passed standalone legislation. The National Cannabis Industry Association ramped up its advocacy for the bill this week, bringing in more than 100 stakeholders for 2 days of lobbying on Capitol Hill, involving more than 100 meetings with lawmakers and staff to drive home the point that they want to see the Safe Banking Act enacted in 2022. The bill has passed the House in some form 7 times now, but it's stalled in the Senate, both under Democratic and Republican control. At a press conference yesterday, sponsors of the standalone banking bill reiterated the urgency of enacting reform this session, reiterating the public safety imperative of giving the cannabis industry access to the financial system. Senator Jeff Merkley talked about examples of violent crime targeting marijuana businesses and workers, as well as the bipartisan support of the standalone legislation. He said, it's a political positive. It's good policy and good politics. So we're here today to say it's way past time to get the safe banking bill done. He also outlined provisions under consideration to build upon the financial services reform as part of a broader package that's being called Safe Banking Plus. The forthcoming legislation might include funding for community development financial institutions, expungements for prior cannabis convictions, and a process of no job discrimination for people with marijuana-related criminal records in now legal states. It's not exactly clear what kind of job-related protections might be involved, as the senator suggested. That detail hasn't been previously reported, but he signaled the workplace policies may be part of the PLUS plan, alongside other much-discussed components such as research and veteran-focused provisions. Representative Ed Perlmutter said safe banking obviously is a public safety issue. It is a tax issue. It's a civil justice issue. We can get this done. We will get this done. We need some more Republican co-sponsors, and the congressman expects that they will join them soon. He said, I know in the House that whatever they pass in the Senate, we will get passed in the House. And this will be the law by the end of the year with your help and your hard work. The congressman also said that he's increasingly tempted to go to the nuclear option in the House Rules Committee of holding up separate legislation like the National Defense Authorization Act, where cannabis banking provisions are included in the House version. He said, my time is short here, all right? And with each passing day, I'm more likely to do the nuclear option of trying to hold something up, but I don't think we're going to need to do that. Perlmutter also talked about a legalization bill filed by Senate leadership in July, saying it's a great and very sweeping piece of legislation, but the political reality is it doesn't have enough support to clear the Senate. He said every legal business deserves the same access to the same resources as any other resources like bank accounts, loans, payment processing, and so much more. Merkley also said when it comes to cannabis, the country is changing fast, and it's long past time that our federal laws caught up. I agree with these folks. It's about time that Washington started doing something, and safe banking, sadly, to Rico's lament, is going to be the first piece of legislation that they do it on. So I hope that they can get this through. Rico, don't give me that face. You know it's coming. Get on the train. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
That's right, Gretchen. Pass safe banking already.
Fuck safe banking. No, the train might be coming, but I ain't buying no tickets because the railway.
Then you're just gonna get steamrolled
Ain't nobody
over.
riding on that motherfucker. Yeah,
everyone's riding on that train. We're taking that train all the way to the bank.
They want fucking all they want is doctor's visits. You know what I'm saying? Like we can let them have that, and maybe you can have your train, Gretchen and Jason.
We're calling it the money train. Okay, Rico.
I do have a piece of insider news
I like
that some of these lobbyists who were working the Hill yesterday managed to corner Senator Cory Booker and try and get something out of him on what was going on. And Booker said, if this is going to happen, it will be lame duck. So a lot of this is also going to depend on the election, because if the Democrats don't retain control, I don't see why the Republicans would bring it up in a lame duck. So I don't.
So you're basically saying that it's not going to get brought up in the lame duck because Republicans are going to take control.
I don't think Republicans are going to take the Senate, Jason. I hate to say this, and it burns my heart to say that.
Have any of you guys?
I think they'll take the House, but I don't think they'll take the Senate.
Have any of you guys, besides Gretchen, gone to lobby days?
I've been to lobby days numerous times.
I've been once, and I would recommend anybody who is pushing on anything politically in cannabis to for sure experience it at least one time, for not just, to be able to go out there and have your voice to be heard, but the network that I was able to gain of people that are on a similar path. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that was something that was really advantageous for me in my professional career, was participating in lobby days, going out there and being able to have my voice heard, but like getting to, meet and connect with so many other people that are on a similar wavelength, and realize that, we have to go about it in a political manner to get a lot of this shit done. We can't just go around running and screaming about it. We have to politic like the rest of them.
That's right.
Big shout out to El Guapo Tron 4000. He said he's going to run a crop dusting plan, rig it up with some sters, trademark, and crop dust the Senate. I'm all for that, Guapo.
I mean,
but real talk, like, how does this not fucking infuriate you? You all. I know we were talking about term limits. I think like last week or maybe the week before. Like when they just turn this shit off, they turn it on and off. They don't give a fuck about your feelings. They don't give a fuck about your timeline. Like term limits would stop all of this bullshit posturing right before elections and saying a bunch of shit right before the election. Fuck that shit, man. Make everybody a one-term whatever and run this country for the fucking people. This is not for the people, obviously, and you don't give a shit. If Cory Booker and Chuck Schumer say, "Oh, this is gonna put us into a lame duck," fuck them, man. Fuck everybody on both sides of the aisle. If you're not doing shit for the people, which is what 95% of them, get them the fuck out of there, man. Burn the whole thing down. Just pisses me the fuck off, man. It's not helping anybody, and we can take this suffer. Period.
Okay, well, I agree with term limits. I don't agree with one-term term limits, and nothing
Two,
was
baby.
done. Two,
What is one term? Like
you're in the
one
House
term
for
is either 2
years,
years, 6 years, or 4 years.
What
2,
would you-
6,
what
or
do you
4.
think?
2,
What do you
6,
think it
or
should
4.
be?
What do I think I don't know, 4. Well, I think maybe 4 in the House. That gives you 8 years in the House, and maybe 3 in the Senate. I don't know. I mean, because it takes time for things to get done. And honestly,
That's 18 years in the Senate, Gretchen.
I'm aware there are guys in the Senate who are going for like their 6th or 7th time.
100%.
That's just crazy. You need institutional knowledge, and we also know that the Senate just doesn't move as fast, and so you can't just dump those guys after one term.
I think we should.
Well, I know that's what you think, but
America is the new France.
Incorrect.
America is never the new France. Bro.
We're the new France.
No, we have freedom fries, not French fries. Okay.
Either way, I mean, even if you know these guys were not worried about elections, they still got to deal with inflation. They got to deal with railroad strikes. I mean, they got to deal with a whole shit ton of other topics before
problems that they create. These are all problems that they fucking create because of all this bullshit posturing, kicking the can down.
Either way, there are a lot of issues, and as much as I love cannabis, if you go to the actual list of to-dos in Congress, cannabis is about number 47. I mean, it's not a priority.
And for the people of America, I'm not going to say it's top priority, but it's a lot higher.
I mean, one poll that shows that Americans think cannabis legalization is in the top 10 of things that they want done.
That's what I try to say all the time, Gretchen. You can't find one because they don't exist.
When conservatives care about polls when it fucking points to whatever your wavelength is.
No, but
that's what Democrats
when it comes to your daily life, Rico,
where's the qualitative data?
When it comes to your life, Rico, are you worried about unemployment? Are you worried about healthcare? Are you worried about a whole number of other issues of energy? All sorts of things.
Three things.
Okay.
Cannabis, education, and healthcare. That's what I care
Cannabis is number 1.
Yeah.
So when it comes to educating your daughter, she's number 2 to cannabis. Seriously?
Cannabis number 1. Cannabis saved my life. My daughter wouldn't be here if it wasn't for cannabis.
Oh, that's a good save, Rico. That's a real good save.
I don't know if I buy that whatsoever.
That was a real good save. But nonetheless, that was a fascinating discussion. Thank you all so much for that. Thank you for that story, Gretchen. Coming up next, he's a blunt-blowing, Fresno-based man of the people, representing, that's right, the black conservative voice whose existence Joe Biden would love to silence for even acknowledging it exists. Here to change the narrative, it is none other than the governor himself, Nicholas Wildstar. Come on, Nicholas, you need to unmute your mic, Nicholas.
Did you just get like a country accent also, Jason? I feel like.
Did I give a country accent? I don't know.
Wildstar.
I don't know if you guys
Wildstar.
Kelly down at LSU.
Hello, Nicholas.
I mean, he's there. I see him,
Governor.
but he hasn't unmuted.
The great governor.
I love me some El Guapo though.
Dude.
We do need a Gretchen deep sigh sound effect.
Yeah. Hey,
Jono, can we please loop that?
Let's move to Dr. Mary since Gretchen or since Nicholas is not responding.
Oh, and Dr. Mary, great.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hell yeah. So, Dr. Mary is an integrative medicine internist and a two-time best-selling author. The CEO of Balanced Medicinals, Dr. Mary joins us today from New York. She does the research and converts it into effective treatments so you don't have to. When she's not treating patients with alternative medicines, she can be found in front of her video camera cooking, or walking the Upper West Side. Dr. Mary, what do you have for us?
I have some great news coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, where lawmakers are considering decriminalizing psychedelics. I mean, I would have expected this from other cities, but Atlanta, that's pretty progressive. I think the biggest takeaway from this story is to keep telling your story, because lawmakers found the individual stories that were shared with them to be especially, quote, poignant and heart-rending. This news comes from the City Council Public Safety and Legal Administrative Committee, so they can't really change the law, but they did vote unanimously to hold the matter for further consideration. If the resolution passes, it would result in a city council formally requesting that police make psilocybin arrests the lowest law enforcement priority for planting, cultivating, purchasing, transporting, distributing, engaging in practices with, or possessing enthogenic plants, fungi, spores, or compounds. They say it promotes psychological and physical wellness. So a really big improvement. And I got this article from Marijuana Moment, I think.
It is from Marijuana Moment, Dr. Mary. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of going viral because I think it's just great to see Georgia. I mean, Georgia, Dr. Felicia is always talking about how difficult Georgia is with cannabis. And then here we have them thinking about psychedelics. And I used to personally think when people would say they wanted to get into psychedelic mushroom growing, I would say just don't even do it, because I think that the pharmaceutical industry is going to manage psychedelics for us and make it very, very difficult for anybody to, have be able to operate in a psychedelic market unless you're using a prescription. But as these decriminalization efforts increase across the country, it's going to be, I think, better and better for people who are interested in growing mushrooms and distributing them, outside of a pharmaceutical market.
I think it's an easier path to cash for them. You don't have a lot of the social stigma tied to the war on drugs and everything. I think that, and they have proof of all of the research that they've done over the past however many decades experimenting on Americans. They already have a lot of these clinical trials done that they don't have that information or access to that information yet in the cannabis lane. So
So
go ahead,
That's
Nicole.
not true.
That's not true.
Hold on. We have Dr. Felicia in Clubhouse. We also have Nicole Buffong in Clubhouse that want to chime in on this.
Please do.
All right. Nicole Buffong.
I'm going to let Dr. Felicia go first. Please, Dr. Felicia, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Follow the money. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. We have had a cannabis law on the books since 2015. This state of Georgia has yet to see one piece of cannabis product produced yet. And the licensing process was such a debacle due to the corruption that we're still waiting. Again, Rico and I have both said before that cannabis seems to have the stigma and is associated with people of color and criminals and this and that. And I just think that, the psychedelics don't have that stigma. It's the darling of big tech. And there's somebody funneling money. Trust me, there is money being funneled into whoever is putting this legislation forward. Because if you can't even get cannabis off the ground, and now psychedelics is like jumping off the ground in Georgia, there's some big money flowing in here somewhere, somehow. Just watch.
I will say the chattiest of the chads and the brattiest of the brads love psychedelics that still want to smoke like a fucking dab with me. So that I
Steve
will.
Jobs. Steve Jobs
That
was it like 15 years ago? Steve Jobs said anybody in the tech industry who has not taken a hit of acid, he does not want to talk to.
Dr. Felicia is absolutely correct. It follow the money, and there's no social justice issue wrapped around psychedelics like there is with cannabis. And in a state like Georgia, the testimony in this article said, oh, that the lawmakers described the testimony as very, very poignant and heartrending. That's bullshit. There are plenty of people that have come before the lawmakers in Georgia telling their heart-wrenching stories about how cannabis has saved their lives and why they don't have access to cannabis as medicine. The state has already said that these patients, over 50,000 patients in the registry, should have access to cannabis as medicine, and yet they are still forcing those patients to commit federal law, to break federal law, to go outside of the state to get access to the medicine that the state says they should have. It's ridiculous. It has
Wow, I feel
everything to
so
do.
naive with
It has
I feel so
everything to
naive
do.
with all this input. It hadn't occurred to me that there was that this was just a front for something else. I mean, but I do think the indigenous people feel as though they have a claim on psychedelics, and some
Yes.
people get really sensitive from the indigenous community when you start talking about making it into a pharmaceutical.
I'm so glad you brought that side of the argument up, Dr. Mary. This is something that we brought up, I think, last year when the decrim movement was going across the nation. And the decrim, I actually asked in a one-on-one interview with the decrim California people. They said that their views are very different than the decrim American people, but they're all, but they were trying to silence a lot of the Native American voices. That they're trying to drown out their voices when they were saying, like, no, you should not industrialize peyote. This is an endangered fucking planet. It's sacred to our people. And they were just ignoring everything that the people were saying, but they didn't want to put that on Front Street. They just went, oh, we need to go forward for this. There's a huge opportunity. And a lot of the people that are beating those drums are the people who dropped out of the cannabis industry because they couldn't cut the fucking mustard over here in the green lane. So they just go right over there. They switch lanes. Like, oh yeah, this is just like we blah, blah, blah. I did this like over there. Like, no, man, experience is no substitute for wisdom. Remember that shit. When you're hiring people, just because they have experience doesn't mean they learned anything from fucking up somewhere else. Follow the money.
Wow.
That's worth
Absolutely. Follow
embroidering
the
on
money.
on a little piece of cloth and hanging it on your wall. Don't think they got any wisdom from their previous job.
And this article also says that it's entheogens and pores and spores of fungus. So we're not talking about all psychedelics. We're not talking about all plant-based psychedelics. It's not, from what I'm understanding from this article. It's just talking about psilocybin, I guess, and just mushrooms. But we all know that there are more than just mushrooms when we're talking about psychedelics and entheogens. So I'm interested to understand if entheogens cover peyote and ayahuasca as well. I doubt it. But
I will say that the agricultural side of it, with time, it's like a microgreen. Microgreens are some of the more like financially responsible things to grow because you can grow lots of them in a short amount of time. And like mushrooms are similar to that. Like you can grow a lot of mushrooms in a short amount of time and in a small amount of space. So I think from like a production standpoint as well, and as well as like the isolation of psilocybin, like it's like ayahuasca takes fucking forever and is very expensive to grow, right? Like iba, like all of these like other the cactuses and all that, they take very long periods of time, like super, super long.
Yeah.
So I think from like a financial side of it too, like you can monetize mushrooms so much faster. Like so much faster. Like,
you know, and the data on
Quicker path to
using
cash.
mushrooms, the psychological support, especially for people approaching end of life and having anxiety about end of life, that there's really positive research coming from that. And for people, I just read with alcoholism, very difficult to treat alcoholism, using 2 mushroom trips, it substantially reduced the amount they were drinking, really allowed them to get to where it wasn't like one drink leads to 12. It was like one drink can lead to 2 or 3 drinks, and then they can call it a day. So
the United States government can own a patent on cannabis and say that it is a neuroprotectant, but not allowed to legalize the plant as medicine for its various uses. But somehow psychedelics can jump to the front of the line and be legalized, and and patients have access to that because there's promising research.
Thank you so much for that, Nicole Buffong. We have Nicholas Wildstar back up now with our final story. Yes, we just did audio check, and he is back. Nicholas Wildstar, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys, and hello to everyone. The Nevada Board of Pharmacy's classification of cannabis as a Schedule I drug is unconstitutional, a district judge ruled Wednesday. The ruling came in a lawsuit filed against the Board of Pharmacy by the American Civil Liberties Union of Nevada on behalf of plaintiffs Antoine Poole and the Cannabis Equity and Inclusion Community, an organization that helps people get established in the state's marijuana industry. Cannabis is currently a Schedule I drug on the same level as drugs as heroin and LSD, meaning the Board of Pharmacy considers those drugs to have a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use states. On Wednesday, District Judge Joe Hardy Jr. agreed with the ACLU's argument that marijuana does have an accepted medical use because voters amended the state constitution in 2000 to legalize medical marijuana. He also ordered the Board of Pharmacy to remove cannabis from the list of Schedule I drugs. The constitutional right to use marijuana upon the advice of a physician does establish that marijuana has an accepted medical use and treatment in the United States, Hardy said. Brett Kant, a lawyer representing the Board of Pharmacy, argued that federal agencies had not determined that marijuana has an accepted medical use. Kant also used that the change to the state constitution didn't explicitly specify that marijuana has medical value. Certainly, the voters in passing that initiative were making a value judgment on the right of a patient to make treatment decisions in consultation with their physician. But they weren't necessarily making a value judgment on medical marijuana and its efficacy, Kant said. Kant declined to comment after the hearing. Chris Peterson, a lawyer with the ACLU, said Wednesday's ruling was the first step towards overturning marijuana-related convictions in the future. We've not brought in this case before the court, but we'll be looking to see whether or not this can be retroactively applied, Peterson said. During the court hearing, Hardy said he was not ruling on any issues related to the overturning convictions for marijuana-related crimes because the ACLU's lawsuit did not address the topic. Attar Hasbullah, the executive director of the ACLU of Nevada, has previously said that the conviction has prevented Poole from doing basic things, such as getting a license to become a barber, while the ACLU has argued that the Board of Pharmacy should not have any regulatory power over marijuana. Hardy said he would rule on that issue in the upcoming weeks. Peterson said the Board of Pharmacy could theoretically give cannabis a less severe classification level, but it will depend on the judge's ruling on the board's overall authority to regulate marijuana. The ballot measure legalizing marijuana in Nevada in 2017 signaled that voters want the drug regulated similarly to how alcohol is regulated, Peterson said. We are simply dragging the agencies kicking and screaming into that framework and making sure that it's doing what it needs to do, he said. Fighting for liberty and justice for all is a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. This is Nick Wildstar, aka the Governor, reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Hit him, Nicole.
I'd like to shout out CEIC. They are the nonprofit organization here on the ground in Nevada that found the plaintiff for this case, and made sure that the ACLU was able to have a viable candidate for this case. And so they've been working hard on this the last 6 months, and I know that they're excited about these next steps here in Nevada. I just wanted to say that.
Nichole West, what you got for us? Sounds like Nevada is descheduling.
Deschedule or bust.
I mean, that's what it basically kind of sounds like.
Bro, like that's what
I mean-
the news sounded like to me today. I was reading all these articles and I'm like, okay, so I have a funny story. I made a $10,000 bet with my cousin in 2009 that 2022 would be the year that we descheduled. And I don't know why I picked it. I just had this. He said 2017. And I was like, nah, bro, that's too soon. It's too fucking soon. And I said 2022. And I was reading all these articles today. And my cousin is one of the original founders of Tap Out. And he's like literally the only person that I know that I could go back to a bet that I made 15 years ago and be like, remember that 10 grand that we shook on? Because if
He's
they
like,
fucking
nah, I don't remember that.
I've been hit in the head too many times to remember anything like that.
I tapped out before I remembered.
Yeah.
I'm going back and I'm gonna be like, bro. But no, there's been so many things in the news recently, and I know like I tend to listen to my staunch Republican friends about what's actually going to happen.
Yeah,
and then
that's
my liberal friends, we like dream and fight for
the
what
dreamers.
we want.
The
We
dreamers.
dream and we
Happen.
fight for what we want. But like I've been listening to Jason and Gretchen being like, no, it's not going to be for like 5 years or whatever. But like I'm starting to feel like it might be sooner. I feel
That's
like
the dreamer in you talking, girl. Look at Gretchen's face. That says it all right there.
We need Gretchen's
Yes.
side for that.
Yeah, I saw the eye roll, Gretchen. I saw the eye roll.
Real quick here, and then we gotta hop in a second. Governor Wildstar, thank you so much for covering this story. And it is a quick question to everybody on the panel here today. Do you think that this is something that we can match on a federal level? Call out the constitutionality.
Stop. Let's just be happy. Let's just be happy with a win and call it a win first. Okay.
You can call it a win, but it's a win that's not going to hold up. I mean, you want an example of legislating from the bench. Hello, what the fuck? He can't just say it's not a Schedule I drug. Are you kidding me? He's not allowed to do that.
Well,
it's not going to hold up.
Oh, so this is a to be continued story.
I would love to see this hold some precedent somewhere, but the only precedent this is going to hold is in fantasy land. Y'all are out of your minds.
Woo, yeah, Gretchen with them bars, girl.
All right.
Your
Well,
dreams.
thank you all.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the nightmare.
Thank you, Governor, for that really, thought-inspiring conversation. I definitely am a dreamer, and I'm hopeful, but I, again, probably defer to my staunch friends. Catch us Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Thank you to our sponsors and our audience and our supporters, to the haters for still talking, to True Classic and LAXCC for helping us eat, to the correspondents for being amazing, to Weed for helping me be funnier and also stumble on my words a bit. Thank you to 3 is 4 for being amazing and helping us look like we know what we're doing. Thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. Run the outro music, please.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.